Welcome everybody to the show. This is Counterclipping Show, episode number 236 for August, what is it, the 25th, 2025. I'd like to say thanks everyone for stopping out tonight. I am clipping the end, I think, of the Italian campaign that appeared a few issues ago in World War magazine. We're going to be getting this to the table pretty soon. And I am drinking, because I have had an extremely stressful day for no particularly good reason, the Macallan 12, bottled at a respectable 43%. It is delightful as usual. I don't normally buy it for myself, so I want to have a big shout out here, among the many other shout outs we'll do, to Hissy Cat Studios for providing me with that delightful bottle, which I am still drinking, even though it was almost a year ago at this point. So, I did put a little bit of water in it. It is Macallan, by the way, that turned me on to Scotch in the first place. It is an excellent beginner Scotch, let's say. So, before we get started, I want to remind everybody to please do like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and there's a whole bunch of ways to support the channel in the video description. The biggest helps are the Patreon and the Noble Knight affiliate link. We will be hearing from our good friends at Noble Knight later on. They are the official sponsors of the Counterclipping Show, so big shout out to them. Free international shipping sale ends today. So if you have not yet done your international shipping thing, ignore the international shipping link. Just go through the affiliate link, buy stuff, and let the machine do the work for you. In addition, there might be a little special Benny for patrons at some point in the not too distant future. It will be traveler related if so. So Mr. Mark Herman, thanks for stopping by. Don't even tell me how bad the Cleveland team is doing. All right, before we get any further, let's say hello to Achilles, Alistair Logie, Bayonet Brant from the Armchair Dragoons. We'll talk about the Dragoons Assembly momentarily here. Bill Simone, Board Gaming Geezer, Bob Meyer, Charles, Christophe DeClerc, Dale Brady, Danny Gable, Dave Poirier, Dave Scott, David Imperato, David Zell, Doug Blayard, Eric Selna, Grunyard Rich, HUN644 New, Jeff Anderson, Jeff T, Joe Hammond, Joe Okabayashi, Joe Mentum, John MC, John C from the sunny Philippines. Look, John, glad to see you making it back. John Weeble, John Clark, Mean Joe Green is here. Somebody popped in and I'm going to miss it. Sorry about that. Ken Hartland, welcome back. Lee Grant, Mark McNair, Mr. Mark Herman is, of course, in the house tonight. Mark Hodgkinson, Marty Sample is here. Matt Taylor, Meandering Mike, Michael Karlowski, Mike B, Panzer Division Lair, Paul Dangle, Para G, Rob Johnson, Scott Bell, Sean Sullivan, Stacking Limit, our intrepid moderator is here, of course. Stigler is here as well. Vincery, Viper Dave. I apologize to anyone whom I have missed. I haven't been to an actual Major League Baseball game in many years at this point. That and concerts generally I consider too expensive for what they cost nowadays. So that is why I'm trying to just sort these by unit type, because that is as far as the organization is going to go with this particular game. So, Russia Reunion Butter Tart Moonshine from Top Shelf Distillers. This sounds potentially interesting. It turns out Vince Ree spilled soda on his keyboard. I have done this as well. I will point out to you that there are now dishwasher-safe keyboards that you can get. I'm just pointing that out. So, also remind everybody that Super Chats and Super Stickers are in fact on. It's another good way to support the channel, and your comment will get highlighted, and I will be guaranteed to not miss it. So, appreciated if so. So, we do have some news this evening. The big piece of news is actually the GMT update. We'll get to that in a minute. In the meantime, however, I will point out that the Armchair Dragoons annual convention, the assembly, is going to meet again in Cary, North Carolina from 10 to 12 October, and they are now selling tickets. So it is time to get in on that if you are going to be in that part of the country at that particular time. And actually, I think Brant has provided me with a link here, too, that I'm going to have to unfuck before I post it. But here's the link to that. And it's probably going to go to Tabletop, whatever that convention management thing is. So, which, like I said, it's been an extremely trying day. Anyway, we are going to talk tonight about the Byzantine Empire in war games. And I managed to find some. There aren't that many, however. I did get to the number I got to by finding one that isn't out yet, and another one that is not exclusively Byzantine stuff, but which is a good proportion of Byzantine stuff. We'll get into all of that very soon. But in the meantime, I didn't get a Discord link for the Discord community, so let me grab that. And of course, everything is in the way at this exact time. If anybody would like to join the Ardwulf's Lair Discord community, here is a link to do so. If you're watching after the fact, just email me. I will put my email address in the ticker at the bottom of the screen, and I will give you a personalized invitation, and it will be great. So, in any case, I would like to thank everybody for their support. John C., especially, since just as I was saying that. So, yeah, very good. OHIO, as we say at The Ohio State University, which is an actual thing. Where are the infantry? There's the infantry. There we go. Okay. So, let's get started. And again, thanks, John, for the support. It is much appreciated. So, there's a sort of interesting, like, traditional British, really, and adopted by the Americans nomenclature here when we say the Byzantine Empire. There is no historical state that called itself the Byzantine Empire. The state that we call the Byzantine Empire called itself the Roman Empire throughout its entire existence and considered itself the continuation of the Roman Empire, even when it was reduced to a tiny nub later on, as it is. Any... plausible. I don't care that much about the sports end of university life, to be honest. Matt Taylor, what do people use to store the small black war games for game like Pacific Victory? The block war games, I would say. My inclination is always to try and get the stuff in the original box, but I did create a 3D printed. These were never ready for prime time because it was always thoroughly half-assed, and they ate a lot of filament just prototyping them. I made 3D printed cases for blocks for commands and colors. Frankly, I would just use Ziploc. For block games in general, I would just use Ziploc bags. If you can get away with that, you won't necessarily always be able to. So, nevertheless, John, the vicissitudes of the world economy aside, in particular over here, it is still appreciated, and it is not appreciated less thanks to the current exchange rate. So, Byzantine War Games. Stuka Joe is here. Joe, thanks for stopping by. Byzantine, this was a bit of a play, and I didn't realize it until I actually made the thumbnail. We could have thought of heavy war games as Byzantine War Games. I don't like the Plano boxes because I think they eat an enormous amount of space. They are... just, back in the day when I was, with the ASL guys, they would always store their ASL counters. At least the people I was playing with. There's plenty of other people who have different storage solutions. They always use the big Plano boxes for those, and I just think they take up way too much room, personally. So and don't allow for particularly good organization. So whenever we get the printer running again, one of the things on the to-do list will, in fact, be... I thought I had more armor here, but apparently not. Will, in fact, be ASL storage something. But today we're going to talk about games on the Byzantine Empire, so let's get into that. But first, let's cover the GMT update. So, as usual... I am not reading the entire update to you, so if you would like to read the entire update, please go to GMT's website and do so. I will hit the highlights, but I'll try and cover everything that's in here. Frank would have something to say about Byzantine games, and I have a lot of sympathy for Frank's point of view on this, to be honest. While also at the same time recognizing the reality of my own tastes. So, all right, so... there's some stuff here about Console World Expo, which just did happen a couple of weeks ago, plus WBC, plus Gen Con, but I don't think GMT was there. I don't know if they have a representation at Gen Con the way they do at Origins. Let's hit these bullet points that Gene puts up at the beginning of the notification right away. They're in the middle of shipping the newest round of P500 charges and shipments using the new direct international shipping process, and so far things are going well. There's more details below. This new digital game has at this time released. It is Space Corp, John Butterfield's Space Corp on digital. From Logix Interactive. It is available on Steam now, so check that out. I have flagged it, and I will pick it up at some point, even though I don't really feel like I need a digital implementation of Space Corp in particular. But there's that. We'll talk about this in a little bit, too. New to P500 is the long-awaited Pacific Chase from Jerry White. This is going to probably do extremely well, would be my guess. And a lot of people have been very excited about Pacific Chase since Jerry started talking about working on it. It is time to order what will be Roger's last issue. I'm not 100% sure that it is going to be the last issue, but it is C3I Magazine issue number 38 with Roger's passing. He was working on this issue at that time, at the that hellish beginning of the year that we had. There is no Tony Mammal asks if the new printing of Space Empires 4X would still be fully compatible with previous base games. So the short answer is yes. The only concern you might have is counter thickness. If you have the first printing of the base game, it came with thinner counters, and there is a fog of war element where some counters are kept upside down, so that's undesirable. I don't know that it's an emergency, and if you have a later printing of the base game, or if you have the first printing of the first expansion, then you have the thicker counters, and I haven't measured them, but the new counters in Space, the new Space Empires 4X expansion look identically thick to me, at least thus far. All right, so get your hands on C3I number 38 while they last. I predict that won't be very long. This is just restating the same thing that we already covered. We'll talk about the shipping stuff down at the end. They're making a ton of good progress on the shipping process, and there have been some hiccups as I predicted, and I think as everybody who's at any kind of life in the business world could have predicted. There have been some hiccups, but I don't know that anything has been a complete disaster. So, Mark says it's the end, and he had a hand in helping to complete it for Roger. So I would think that this will be our last. That was what I thought, but then somebody was saying something different in the last couple of days, and I got confused. So, phase 2 of the international shipping deal. Excellent choice, Mark. Fine choice. I don't have any Balvenie right now, which is a problem. I have actually cleared out 3 bottles of scotch in the last couple of weeks, so we're going to need to buy some more scotch soon. I have more bourbon, and I could fill a kiddie pool with the amount of bourbon I have. All right, so phase 2 of the international shipping means that the fulfillment partners will get the games from the printer, however that works out, and then they will send those to the recipients themselves, so they're never going to cross an American border. And we'll see the production queue and the charging shipping stuff at the bottom. Website process change. P500 pricing for the next batch 2 games, which again we'll list them in a minute. That'll happen on September 8th. At least they planned for it to happen on September 8th. Last month they planned it on a day, and it actually got charged like a week later. The pricing, the current P500 pricing, will only be good for 4 days after they do that charge, whenever that happens. So, if you want any of this stuff, now's the time to get your order in. They will ship most, but not all, international customer P500 orders direct from the printer without the games having to go through the U.S. However, there are some small number of exceptions. For some countries, they don't have cost-effective and reliable international freight from the printer, or in the case of Europe, they don't have non-EU direct from the printer freight providers. So some international orders are still going through the GMT warehouse. Countries that are only going through the U.S. at this time include Bahrain, Belarus, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Brazil, Iceland, Israel, Kuwait, Moldova, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Oman, Russia, Saudi Arabia. You know, if you're in Russia or Ukraine right now, you're probably lucky to be getting games at all, given the situation. Saudi Arabia, Serbia, South Africa, Turkey, Ukraine, and the United Arab Emirates. They will not charge U.S. tariffs on orders sent to the above to these countries. So cool. There's new columns on the shipping table, so pay attention to that. This was an easy call for me. And if you've got the old stuff, then who cares, right? Oh, excellent. I love Ledeg. Ledeg is one of my, I guess it's pronounced Lecheg. It's one of my favorites, and you can't get it here in Ohio. So Kyle Harris, we can work the details of transfer apart out. So, all right. We're not going to cover this anymore. We do have a sneak peek here at the very pretty components for Italy 43. This is from the proof copy. That Mark Simonich, the designers and artist, says it looks good. It should be in the warehouse in a month or two. So I'm looking forward to this, as I do to everything Mark Simonich would like to do. Hannibal's Revenge is now available for pre-order at Legion Games. This is one that got dropped from GMT's P500. So go ahead and all right. So go ahead and hop over to Legion Wargames pre-order page. I will put that right here if anybody wants to do that. This looks like a very promising game from Mark McLaughlin and Fred Schachter. So if you are interested in this, I have thrown that into the chat as well. Sean Mulroy says the Australian Post have announced that all parcels to the U.S. have been suspended due to tariff queries. I, for one, am stunned. So, looking at the chat, and this strikes me as a sensible way to get around things, right? No, you will need a new map for this. I think. Well, you're getting a new map anyway. Let me put it that way. So I'm not sure that that's a problem. Mark, I can't justify ordering it again because I already have a copy. So, yeah, this looks like a new map. It looks like the projection's a little bit different. So I would make the assumption that it is a different map, even though it's Italy, so it looks the same. Check the GMT website recent editions section for updates and articles about GMT's games. That, if you don't know where that is, by the way, same place you go to see the updates. This stuff down, this section down at the bottom here. I just clicked on this to get to the update. So, new not yet there yet P500 items that could use more orders include Imperial Eagles, Konigratz 66, which is a Mark Simonich game, and which I'm very intrigued by. Napoleon in Egypt, which, people ask me all the time, why aren't there more games on Napoleon in Egypt? And I tell them it's because you haven't ordered this game on GMT's P500 right now. This is Over the Hills and Far Away. Contrary to popular expectations, it is not a game about Led Zeppelin. It is the second game in the Bayonet and Musket series. I wanted to get that right. This is going to be a Ben Hull and David Fox game, and this will cover Steenkirk from the War of the League of Augsburg and Ramillies from the War of the Spanish Succession. Two interesting conflicts that we don't have enough games about. So that's worth a look as well. Box back sneak peek is for the Guerrilla Generation. This is going to be the latest coin quad. The last, I do have some, I don't buy every coin game that comes out, because I'm not independently wealthy. But also because not every topic necessarily interests me. And I do have a slight regret about not picking up the British Way. This is going to be a similar package to that. I think this is going to be more insurgent-driven for obvious reasons. So it's probably going to be an interesting and fun thing to play and engaging. Let's see. All right, Miracle at Dunkirk. Yeah, that did seem to have taken a while. So Guerrilla Generation is there. It's cool. We got Banner for Army Group North, which is semi-set up on the table. I haven't clipped any counters yet. There's a bunch of updates for the various vassal modules, including the British Way, Next War Poland, Assault on Gallipoli, which is from Hexasym, but GMT carries it. Commands of Killers Ancients, Holland 44, Empire of the Sun, and 3 Days of Gettysburg 3rd edition, which not the new one. I have 5 or 6 of them, I think, and I'll buy more of them. It just, I have to be specifically interested in the topic at this point, and feel like I will be into a coin treatment of that topic. For some topics, I think that's a natural fit. For other topics, less so. So. Mike Reed points out that Napoleon in Egypt is from the designer that did Vendée 1793 from Fellowship of Simulations. Napoleon in Egypt looks like a pretty straightforward point-to-point CDG on Napoleon in Egypt. And that campaign, as I've said a million times at this point, is more interesting than a lot of people realize. All right. Interviews included our good friend Alan Dickerson, who is with us tonight, the designer of By Swords and Bayonets, got on the official GMT podcast. Pushing Cardboard talked to Gina Willis, co-designer of Skies Above Britain and designer of... I'm forgetting what it is, from Legion. And, of course, we on the Chit Show had both Jim Day and Herman Lettman fairly recently. And, hey, Mark Herman popped in for a few minutes last night. More than half the show, actually. All right, so there's a bunch of GMT links here. You can go look at those at your own leisure. Digital games, we've already covered that to the extent that I would like to. They're still working on Saratoga from the Battles of the American Revolution series, a digital implementation of that, and I think that it would be worth having. The one I'm really excited about is the digital Mr. President, because I think that's going to be a glorious chance. Thank you. War of 1812 on Lake Ontario. Erie? I forget. Anyway, I know dick about the War of 1812, even though I grew up on the literal shore of Lake Erie. So this is awesome that Gina's got more stuff she's got coming out through there. This is true. MMP has started a podcast. They are on YouTube. I'm not sure. I haven't tried to listen to it through a podcast service yet. I usually go through Spotify for that, but that's just because I'm on Spotify every day anyway. It's just convenient for me, and I don't have any Apple devices to deal with. But anyway, I do feel like the digital implementation of Mr. President is going to really make it a more approachable, and that is, approachability is a significant challenge with Mr. President. It's a lot. Rebel Fury is also now live on, this is not brand new news, but is live on Steam, so check all that out. You can find all of this stuff on Steam. They got this cute little thing where BGG Podcast, Rodney from Watch It Played and Joel Eddy from Drive Through Games joined Candace Harris to talk about the Coin series. That would be worth a listen, actually. 2 hours and 13 minutes. Ontario. Yeah, it's Ontario. It's the Battle of Lake Erie is the thing we heard about, right? But that's not what the game's about. We talked to Gina about that when we had her on the show, actually. Okay, HUN644 News confirms that MMP is on Spotify. I just haven't checked yet. I keep seeing them on YouTube. They've done at least 2 or 3 episodes at this point. All right, new P500 editions. There are basically, there's 3 new ones, actually. The Fighting Formations Gross Deutschland Divisions Battle for Kursk. So this is a new packet for the Fighting Formation series, which a lot of people do actually like. That's new. Pacific Chase from Jerry White. We'll talk about that a little more in a minute. And we'll look at Next War flashpoints here, because this is a bit interesting. This is basically a scenario pack that gives you supplement intended to allow players to experience the advanced game rule set without having to commit to a full 16-turn scenario. So this sounds like a really good idea to me. So basically it's going to give you additional flashpoint scenarios for all of the games in the series. I'd be stupid for me not to buy this since I own them all, except for Iran. And I'll probably fix that at some point. When I set Mr. President up, I will tell you this. I used one standard size folding table, 2.5 feet by 6 feet. And I needed about another 2x2 area on another table to just hold manuals and stuff, because there's a million manuals for it. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Awesome. Signed as well. Glad it has arrived safely. So anyway, Mitch Land is the designer on this. This looks really, really intriguing, actually, and I probably do need to pick up Next War Iran before I have to pay some heinous overcharge for it on the secondary market. We also have new printings of Ardennes 44, or I guess the update kit. We better look at this. And then a second printing of Tanto Monta. All right, for players who do not wish to pay for printer quality files to the 4th edition, I don't care about this at all. I've got Ardennes 44 and my copy is perfectly fine. I don't need to order that. But Ardennes 44 is a really good Bulge game. So I would absolutely recommend it for those interested in a Bulge game that is not going to necessarily kill you with the amount of work it takes to play. All right, Pacific Chase. So this is Intercept Volume 2, the follow-up to Atlantic Chase. And we can see that this is going to have an absolutely insane amount of stuff. A board, 3 inset map boards, task force displays. There's those little sticks that you use to lay the convoys down. There's going to be a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of paper, a 64-page tutorial book. As far as I'm concerned, at least within Wargaming, nobody is doing rules presentation as well as Jeremy White, in my opinion. Atlantic Chase was focused on convoys. I think there's a Bismarck scenario in there too, but I would be... but yeah, it definitely focuses on convoys and relatively early in the war convoys at that. So that methodology does create some challenges to handling the Pacific. And I have every faith that Jeremy has figured all that out. So for those who enjoyed, and I think that Atlantic Chase, well, not really my bag. I think it's extraordinarily clever, beautifully presented game, and I really would like it to become a very influential game. So get on this. $150 is going to be the retail, or close enough. But 95 for P500. But this is going to be heavy. There's going to be a lot of paper and wood in this thing. So bear all that in mind. All right. So we're not going to go through the recent P500 editions, I don't think. But this is all the details on the stuff that we just looked at. New P500s on the horizon. There's a game set in World War II Russia. I mean... no kidding. A combined game rule set for one of their popular series. Wonder what that is. I wonder if that is what is it called? Simple GBACW or whatever that's going to be called. But I mean, that has a series rulebook already. This could be something else. I have no real idea. A World War I battle game, interesting. A BOAR adjacent design on a late 19th century battle between British and Indian forces. That sounds potentially intriguing as well. Look at their yearly bestsellers, actually. From last July to June 30th, Red Dust Rebellion is their top seller. Fields of Fire Deluxe. That's an interesting as development as well, if you ask me. Just of Robin Hood has done very well. It's safe to say that all these games have done very well. So, okay. So Fred says, thanks Fred for clarifying this. He says that the 4th edition has too many changes to be included in the 2025 GMT errata sheet. So maybe that will make it worth me getting the update kit. But I'm not buying another game. This was my reaction. What? East Front? I can't believe it. So I cut way back on P500s myself. Well, it is, but it's the early part of it revolves around the convoys. Let me put it that way. And this is very likely, and this is the kind of thing that occurred. So, all right, so we've got a bunch of stuff in the warehouse at GMT from Sound of Drums, which includes all these History of the Ancient Seas series, Halas, Dice Irae, Mare Nostrum, and there's several expansions. Their Battles of Napoleon, that's the second volume of this is coming along at this point. Ilau has now departed from here. May investigate the series at some later point. 1793 Patriots and Traitors is a French Revolution game, so I am interested in that. Well, welcome to the economy. What can I say? 1795, about the Thermidorian reaction. That sounds intriguing as well. Is that an expansion? It is an expansion. Cool. It's also Assault Sicily 43, Gela Beachhead. That's cool. Small Wars Mohicans from 1754 to 1760. Potentially intriguing. Good stock on Herman Luttman's The 12th Battle, the Caporetto campaign of 1917. That is what we're looking at right here. It's a Herman Luttman game, so it is definitely always worth a look. I mean, 42 is when Coral Sea, Midway, and the Solomons all happened. So if you're going to pick a year to do Pacific War, that'd be the for your game to cover. If it's not covering the entire thing, 1942 would be it. Interestingly, I'm not sure mine was. All right, so we've got some conventions coming up. We've got Game More 5 in Albany, Oregon. We have the GMT weekend at Game More 5 is October 1st through the 5th. The GMT weekend at the Warehouse is October 16th through the 19th. And this is in Hanford, right? There's also did I miss something? I might have. Oh, the Sequoia Inn is closing on October 1st. It will not be an option for staying there during the GMT weekend at the Warehouse. So there's that. There's the Fairfield by Marriott as an alternative anyway. We've got the Czech Consim Con, which apparently is in Prague, October 17th through the 19th. We have Botos Con in British Columbia, probably pronounced that a little too emphatically. That is November 6th through the 9th in New Westminster, British Columbia. Here's a screenshot from us talking to Jim Day on Ark the Underworld, his new tactical science fiction game that's coming. So I want to see what Jeremy can do with this. There's an updated PDF for 1860. I only mention this because I actually have this game. There's an updated PDF rule book for 1862, one of their 1862 games. And then Legendary Tactics is doing these games that built GMT videos, which are worth watching as well. This is fair, actually. Defense strength to War Department strength. Sounds like a good idea to me. I mean, I think it's interesting to draw that, to make that statement and then think about Dunnigan's First World War. Let me put it that way. All right, a bunch of 3D printing files from Nerd Workshop. Rally the Troops. Feel free to check that out. Blankets from Kai. I still need mine. Yeah, Mark says it works great. That's good enough for me. All right, bunch of demos. Let's see what we got here. Here's Joe from Hexton Countered playing through by Swords and Bayonets, which is cool. Coming this week on Inside GMT. I'm not reading that off. All right, charging and shipping. The moment we've all been waiting for here, folks. All right. Stuff is shipping and should have already finished, but sometimes their estimates on when they will finish are, optimistic. Barbarossa Army Group North 2nd Edition, Space Empires 4X 5th printing, the expansions Close Encounters, Replicators, and the new expansion All Good Things, and Talon 3rd printing. All should be done or very close to done getting shipped. I have received my parcel containing All Good Things and Barbarossa Army Group North. This is the September 8th batch. Now, remember that the prices that they currently list on these will only hold until a couple days after they do the charge. So if you want to get in on this, do so before September 8th. This pack includes China's War, which is a coin game from Brian Train on the second part of the Second Sino-Japanese War. Combat Commander Battle Pack number 8, Minor Nations, Europe 5th printing, Med 3rd printing, Resistance 2nd printing, and the Europe Med 20th Anniversary Edition. Plus Cross Bronx Expressway and Hubris. Now, I got a chance to see Cross Bronx. I did not play it. I saw it and said, I think this game looks super interesting. My only concern about Cross Bronx Expressway is people are going to see it on the game store shelves and not know what it is because they can't read the font. But it looks pretty cool. And Hubris, Morgan's game, will be finally out. Been waiting for this for a long time too, but I don't have it on P500 because the timing's bad for me. But we will end up picking that up eventually. All right. And then production outlook. They have sent to the printer the Calixto bot for Cuba Libre, the Ardennes 44 4th edition mounted map and update kit, and sending this week, which means last week, Mr. President's 2nd edition and update kit Purgatorio, the Men of Iron Tripack 2nd printing, and Infernal Machine. Purgatorio is the Levian campaign game about the Guelphs versus the Ghibellines, which is a really pretty interesting topic. So I probably will pick that up at some point as well. And of course, I'm happy with my current Men of Iron Tripack, and I don't need another one. Molotov Cocktail Hubris. I agree, Hubris does look really good. Hubris looks good. Ortona is by Non-Breaking Space, the designer of Cross Bronx Expressway. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is true. Yeah, it's just, I don't know how the carriers get modeled in that is the thing. But, like I said, I have every confidence based on what I'm hearing. Even if I had heard nothing, I would have every confidence that Jerry would do it right. So, all right. I don't have an opinion on that. All right, so, at the printer, ship date to begin Trans-Pacific shipment on September 5th. Translating that to Ohio, that means that the boat is supposed to leave on September 5th, or at least they're going to start loading the boat that it goes on. This batch includes Italy 43, plus the mounted map for that, Seljuk, from our friend Justigard, Byzantium Besieged, which was one of the inspirations for tonight's topic. Stalingrad 42 2nd edition, highly worthwhile game if you do not have it. The long-awaited errata counters for the Battle for Normandy 2nd edition, or deluxe, whatever we're calling it. There's a lot of errata counters in that, and I'm glad we'll be getting them soon. Unconditional Surrender Western Campaigns. If you are interested in trying the Unconditional Surrender system, or if, like me, you had played the main game where it's World War II in Europe, virtually all of the concerns I had with that game, and I liked it. I liked a lot of things about it. I just felt like it took too long to play, and I didn't like the political system. Both of those problems should be minimized or absent in this game. So the basic mechanism that they run the whole game on is really, really cool, and I really liked it. At the printer, but no ship date available yet, includes A Distant Plane, Ardennes 44 4th edition, the mounted maps for that, the update kit, the Calixto bot, Next War Taiwan 2nd edition, the Plum Island Horror 3rd printing, and the More of a Bad Thing expansion. That is also done extremely well for GMT. Piss. You are right. It is a Men of Iron game. Did I say Levian campaign? It is Men of Iron. You are right. So thank you, Kevin Featherly, for that. All right. In final art, proofing presumably going to the printer in August or September. CNC Napoleonics expansion number 7, The Grand Battles. The CNC Napoleonics folks have been waiting forever for this, and they have not been waiting patiently. Silent Victory 3rd printing, The Hunters 4th printing, and Unconditional Surrender 3rd printing, plus the mounted maps for that. In final art and proofing to go to the printer in September includes 1833 NE, Baltic Empire's Bear Trap, Cuius Regio, which looks awesome, and I want to get it. Coast Watchers from Volco. Let's see if Volco can revolutionize the wargaming hobby for a third time. Decisive Action, Defiance by Mark Herman and David Doctor. Firefight Tactical, and The Guerrilla Generation, which we just had a peek at up top. I have gotten occasionally annihilated on these two. So Q4 2025. So I just want to frame this because when I was looking through this earlier, I was thinking, that's not very far away. We're in Q3 2025 already, right? So if we get all of this, I'm positive we won't get all of this in Q3 2025 or Q4 2025. But this includes 1848, The Springtime of Nations. Very exciting game. House Divided Designer Edition. very interested in seeing that. Army of the Potomac, Barbarossa Army Group South 2nd Edition. For those of us who've been waiting for East Front Series games for a long time, you'll understand my excitement. Combat Commander Island Hopping Battle Pack, Henry, I Napoleon 2nd Printing, and the expansion for I Napoleon, Labyrinth, The Rise of Al-Qaeda, Lenin's Legacy, North Africa 40, which is the expansion for North Africa 41, Resisting Revolution, and another expansion for Cuba Libre, The Battle of Cowpens, which is for the Battles of the American Revolution series, pretty sure. An expansion for the British Way, the Pure Land, Weimar Republic, 3 Days of Gettysburg Deluxe, Thunderbolt Deluxe, the regular version of Thunderbolt, Triumvir, which is by Mark and Jeff Engelstein, which I am also excited to see, and a 20th Anniversary Hall of Fame edition of Twilight Struggle and the Turn Zero expansion. I may actually buy the Turn Zero expansion because I don't have that. It beats buying the whole game again, right? All right, and then Q1 of 2026 includes Echo from the Dark, Fields of Fire 3, Hammer and Sickle, Ironstorm, and Microverse. Microverse is pretty cool too. I think it's going to be a pretty big hit for them. And then I'm not reading off this big list of stuff. So if you're interested in looking at any of these, I guess I'll see what I would think is interesting. Combat Commander Vietnam, I would totally give that a shot. Epipoli, Armine, Expansion or Extinction, those are all interesting things. Founders of Ravik is actually interesting. Second edition of Nevsky, I feel like we've been waiting for a long time about that. Order and Opportunity by Vezar Ponin, this looks pretty cool. Rebellion Britannia looks pretty cool. Solitaire Attack Ops Ortona, I'm just not gonna jump on that. That just sounds like something I don't need. Stepping into Hell, very, very excited about that. That is the GBACW Battle of the Wilderness. The Battle for Sicily from Dan Holt, been waiting for that for a long time too. Battle of Green Spring, which I think is another American Revolution. And then Time of Crisis Deluxe, which I played Time of Crisis and I was like, there's really not any games on this other than Imperium Romanum. On the crisis of the 3rd century. So I played it and was not crazy about it, and I thought about buying it because this deluxe edition will have the expansion in it too. So it's possible. And Zhizhka, which is about the Hussite rebellions or Hussite wars or something like that. Anyway, a bunch of online content creators here, including myself and everybody else. Here's the, let's zoom out a little bit for this. Here's the cover of the Guerrilla Generation. I like this cover. I always worry about like how readable the title is going to be on these covers. But I also have to admit that sometimes the visual impact on a shelf when you're physically standing in front of the game is different than seeing it on a screen. So that could be, a thing. I am not going to even speculate as to the reasons why Non-Breaking Space has decided to go by what I will just call a pseudonym instead of whatever their name actually is. I don't know. I will point out that many authors have reasons to go by pseudonyms, and there could be a reason. There could be a professional reason or a personal reason. I don't care. If the game's good, the game will speak for itself. Do I think it's unusual? Maybe a little, because it's just not something we see in this space. But really, that's the only thing. It's just we don't see people going by pseudonyms as wargame designers normally. All right, so Army of the Potomac. Look at that. The cover looks great, by the way, Mark. Just saying. And I think it will thematically blend in very well with Rebel Fury. Here's Infernal Machine, which was something that I also said, yeah, I don't need that. And then I looked at it. It's actually interesting. Here's Purgatorio, Guelphs and Ghibellines, Men of Iron, Volume 6. Just thanks, Ralph, for continuing this great series after the passing of its original designer, Richard Berg. And then here's some stuff from Ark the Underworld, and this is from the back of Cross Bronx Expressway. The box is also landscape format, which is like weird, but I'm not obligated to store it that way, so I don't care. It will go on the damn shelf like all my other games, including the relatively... I don't have 0 games done in landscape. All right, so that is the entire GMT update. So, oh, look at that. That's interesting. Well, Mike, it's your money. You get to make that decision. That's cool. I can get that. Um, but like I said, I guess I've been doing a lot of reading lately, and I'm kind of in the space where I'm aware that people sometimes don't go by their real names for whatever reason. Um, but it is also our prerogative as consumers. This is the freedom that capitalism gives us, as we decide, for this stuff anyway, what we get to spend money on and what we don't. And if we don't want to spend money on this, I don't care what the reason is. That's your call. So I'll be honest. I mean, admittedly, my eyes are very old and I am mentally exhausted all the time. I'm looking for the picture because there was actually a really good picture of this. I think it's time for a new mouse too, by the way. This mouse is starting to not work very well anymore. There we go. For those who have not seen it, this is the cover of Cross Bronx Expressway. Okay. I mean, I can read the word cross and I can read the word expressway, and I can absolutely understand why they chose this vibe for this cover. I just can't read the word, and I am intellectually aware that the word Bronx is in there somewhere, but I don't see it. So this is actually very common. John Hemry, also career U.S. Navy officer, also chose to write under a pseudonym when he retired and decided to write science fiction. Jack Campbell. Danny Seckery, welcome back to the show. The letters are there. They are all there, and I can stare closely, but I don't like those visual puzzle things. So this is not a reason to not get the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm just whining. All right, so let's start talking about the games of the Byzantine Empire. And I don't know how far we're going to get into this before we take a short break to hear from our good friends at Noble Knight Games. The obvious thing when we talk about, all right, I'm interested in the Byzantine Empire. What games are there on the Byzantine Empire? Because for me, at least, the games are a vehicle for learning the history in some cases. I am fortunate enough to have taken a Byzantine history class in college, taught by Anthony Kaladelis, who is now kind of a famous Byzantine history guy. But Commands and Colors Medieval. This is a Richard board game. It's a Commands and Colors game. That means exactly what you think it means in this particular case. Commands and Colors Medieval falls kind of between Ancients and Napoleonics in complexity, but there's like the difference between the two is like maybe half a point. So it is of similar complexity to every other Commands and Colors game that I personally have played, which is not all of them. And in fact, isn't even half of them, but I've at least seen about 2/3 of them. There's a lot. So this is going to be fun. And the reason why this is interesting is because rather than doing like, well, the Crusades or, whatever, to do medieval battles, they chose Byzantine battles. In this case, it's Byzantines against the Turks and the Persians and, yeah, pretty much. So this is, in that kind of Manzikert. This might be pre-Manzikert, actually. I do not own this, and the description does not list the names of the battles that are in it. Nevertheless, if you're interested in Commands and Colors, also super easy to play, super easy to teach, it's fun. Are you going to learn a lot about the battles that you probably don't? I mean, unless you're into this kind of history already, you probably don't know a lot about these battles. I certainly don't. And if you are interested in that, you're gonna tap your historical knowledge out of the game pretty quickly just because it's Commands and Colors. But you're also going to have fun playing it because it plays fun. It doesn't take that long to play. It's easy. So pretty well recommended. Is this, looks like this is still in print. I'm not checking that. I believe there is an expansion for this. Am I right about that? Or an expansion coming? Is this out already? This is totally out already. I have physically seen this. There was a Crusades expansion. Now, I'm specifically interested in the Crusades more so than or more so than, I'm not sure whether you're making fun of the Byzantines here, Brant, or making fun of me. It could be either one, and either one would be pretty fair. This is almost always true. The anonymity that we think we have on the internet or however else is not perfect. You folks might recall the Stephen King Richard Bachman story where there was like very little evidence leading from Richard Bachman back to Stephen King, and people figured it out anyway. So you can figure it out. I would like to not continue belaboring this point. It is that person's choice to have a pseudonym, and I don't care to investigate the situation any further. And it is our choice whether we would like to have an issue with that to the point where we don't want to buy the game. So, all right. So, Kamensko's Medieval Expansion number 1 is the Crusades and not Byzantines, although some of this was done at the Byzantines, depending on what crusade does this cover? Earlier Crusader history. So in this first Crusade expansion, I don't know, I'd have to look. I will recognize some of the battles of the first and third Crusades, which are the interesting ones to me. So yeah, it was on sale at Origins. That's when I figured it out. All right. Well, he also didn't. I don't know even the gender of the individual, but he person could have picked the symbol for man and woman or something. I don't know. The artist formerly known as Non-Breaking Space. In fact, it would be kind of funny if that was the reason for the name Non-Breaking Space. So in the future they could be known as the artist formerly known as Non-Breaking Space. All right, here's something I have never heard of, self-published, but check out who the publisher is, or the artist anyway, Ilya Kudryashov. This is an interesting-looking game, series States of Siege-style solitaire war game covering the Byzantine Empire. Now, there is a somewhat later game that's going to be very similar to this. Ilya Kudryashov has once again knocked this out of the park. This is a fabulous-looking map. No idea how this plays. If anybody's played this, say so in the chat. Mo from Mo's Game Table is here. There are... How many ratings does this have? Where do I even find that? This asinine system. 140 people own it, which sounds like not that many. But it's not that small either, right? So this has the hallmarks of a print-on-demand type of thing, but these could just as easily be homemade. In fact, I think these are homemade, to be honest. Or print and play, right? So who knows where you even get this thing. Wow. There are more, but many of them are so obscure. I've chosen the less obscure ones. This is one of the obscure ones. There are more games about Byzantine history, but they are very obscure, and I know even less about them than I know about this, which caught my eye because of Ilya Kudryashov, and it's a pretty-looking game. Let's move on. We should actually talk about this first. All right, this is 1978 Siege of Constantinople by Richard Berg. This is the fifth wheel from the Venerable Art of Siege quad, all which mostly had different... All the sieges in the Art of Siege do not have the same rule set, let me put it that way. Anyway... Oh, this kind of chicanery has occurred as well, so. Oh, Mike Reed is waiting for... I'm going to make you mad, Mike. I'm going to make you mad, because I got it. It's seriously sitting in the shrink wrap. It's waiting to be filmed. So I do have it. It actually does look extremely promising. I would agree with this. It is a very attractive soapbox, as somebody who has a lot of the soapboxes at this point. In any case, this came out in S&T in issue number 66, so it's fairly early. And this, of course, is like the very end of the Byzantine, what we call the Byzantine Empire. In 1453, it's under siege by the Ottoman Turks. Yeah, that's why that was funny. We have a picture of the map. Oh, we do. Okay. Here's the map. It's not exactly a stunning graphical masterpiece, but this is from like the mid 70s, so I think we're really doing kind of okay. And just when you look at this, you can see the unique geography of of Constantinople, right, where it is at the sort of the conflux of these three small bodies of water that connect the Black Sea with the Mediterranean, the Bosporus, the Sea of Marmara, and the Dardanelles. Then this is the Golden Horn up here. Made the city very difficult to take by siege, but the Turks had very good artillery at the time. So this is a kind of a classic, and it does not have a high rating on BGG, but who cares? So nobody knows what that means. I don't have this, and apparently I do. I don't know. It says it's in collection. I probably should. This does not go for $1 bazillion. If we were to go to Noble Knight to look at it, we would see $8 to $17. $17 unpunched. VG plus is pretty nice, unless you're insisting that it be absolutely cherry. VG from Noble Knight has always been really good. So that's not particularly expensive. So not particularly hard to get, as is the case with almost all the SPI era S&T games. There are some of them go for really high money, but mostly they don't. So I don't have this, and I probably ought to get it and throw it in my Art of Siege, right? All right, so moving on from that, and I think it is time to hear from our good friends at Noble Knight Games. So let's take it away, Noble Knight, and we will be right back.
Here at Noble Knight Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more, going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at, complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world, just like nature intended. Noble Knight Games.
All right, big shout out to our good friends at Noble Knight Games. They're the official sponsor of the show. Plus, we have the affiliate link in the video description. And if you buy your stuff through Noble Knight, use my affiliate link, and it will really help out the channel a lot. And by which I mean me, of course. So, HQs. All right, next up is S&T issue number 318. So a long time has passed between Richard Berg taking on this topic and Joe Miranda taking on this topic. This, however, is not just about the Siege of Constantinople. It is, in fact, a solitaire game on a hex grid, and therefore I think this looks fairly intriguing. And we can see that I'm going to assume, what is this about? I'm going to assume this is about Justinian's reconquest of the West. Byzantine Empire in the 7th and 8th centuries. The game system controls barbarian forces, and you want to expand Byzantine power. Well, without dates or names, it's hard to say, but this looks like it's got some interest value to me. If we look at this at Noble Knight, we will see that it is $40 in punched condition with the rules notated. Now, this is a late period decision games, right? Printed in vastly smaller quantities. But if you just want the magazine, I guess you can just pay $4. But I'm not interested in just the magazine for this particular one. I would be interested in taking a look at the game. So this does go a little high, but not, absolutely nutty. Wargaming Ramble wrote a review of Tyre on BGG for a game where all the defenders are going to die. So much like the Alamo, then. And I think we're talking about Constantinople here. Rough around the edges like most magazine games. Let's see here. All right, so just trying to get caught up. I'm not super late on that. Brant, thanks for stopping by. I'm not super behind on the chat tonight, but that's somewhat miraculous that I'm not. So one of the other topics that I was batting around is to talk about games about the Crusades. Okay, and one of the things that I've played on that topic is the first Crusade game that I appeared in S&T 299, as I recall. Which is a solitaire Joe Miranda design on a point-to-point grid and not on a hex grid. And this was several years ago at this point, so it's not like I'm holding this against anybody over there right now, but they left the siege rules out of the magazine version. You could download those rules if you downloaded the living rules from the website, but the game does not work without the siege rules. It is a campaign dominated by sieges, so that is a problem. And I don't know if that applies to this or not. Nevertheless, this looks intriguing, and I wouldn't mind investigating it more thoroughly at a future time. These counters look fine. I don't have a problem with it. They do very much look like pretty much decision counters from this particular period. The map looks nice. I don't know who did the... Nadir perhaps did the map. Eric Harvey and Nadir Alfara are mentioned as the artists. Who knows what it actually looks like when you look at the game. But Nadir does... I've seen Nadir do some really good work, and I think he might have done the counters. That would make sense. All right. Next up is a classic, which is not entirely dedicated to Byzantine history, but by the nature of what this unique game does, it does cover some Byzantine history and more than most other games, right? So Imperium Romanum, this originally came out from West End Games back in the 80s or early 80s, I think. There was an Imperium Romanum 2. This is what some of us will call Imperium Romanum 3 from Decision Games a couple years ago. It is basically Imperium Romanum 2 with a couple additional scenarios added and with the graphics improved pretty dramatically and general component quality. David Imperato asks what the P500 price was for Barbarossa Army Group North. I don't know. If somebody knows, put it in the chat, but I don't remember at this point because I paid for it like 2 months ago. And the price was bundled with All Good Things as well, so I'd have had to have figured it out. But remember that has been on P500 for like 15 years. So the price was like lower than you'd think it would be given the amount of product in it. Now, unlike the second edition of Army Group Center, which is in a 2.5-inch box, North is in a 3-inch box, and it uses almost a little over 2.5 inches. So it's going to be a full box. So we're talking about the S&T Crusades game. Yes, this is... I like Armored Christian Soldiers too, but I think the S&T Crusades has a lot going for it too. MMP's Kingdom of Heaven is pants. Is that good or bad? I'm not sure. What are the kids saying nowadays? I don't even know. Anyway, Imperium Romanum. So this is one of those... this is a game that I compare to Pacific War, not because it resembles Pacific War in any way other than this thing. There isn't anything else like this that I have ever seen in the wargaming space. Okay? 70 plus shipping seems laughably cheap considering the amount of contents in that package. So as you can see, the map is gorgeous. The counters are nice too, although there is a bit of a weird... Let me see if I can show you here. Joe Youst did the map on this. I really just wanted a picture of one friggin' counter sheet, and they couldn't give it to me. Anyway, in the previous editions of the game, you got basically a bunch of different factional counter mixes. Okay, so here's the red powers, and the red powers have the red leaders and the red units and all that stuff, and they're all red. And here's the blue units and the blue leaders and the blue whatever. The third edition makes the units generic. So what that means is that only the leaders have a color associated with them. So you have to have a leader on a stack to make sure you know who owns that stack, right? This is not a huge deal because I've got those little color-coded plastic blocks and it's 1-to-1. Remember that you'll have the different colors will mean different things in different scenarios, right? So it's kind of split evenly so that you can play all of the scenarios. And some of the later scenarios are Byzantine scenarios. I don't think it goes all the way up to 1453, but it does go later than the 400s, I can tell you that. Well, it's East Front, so there you go. Playing the Parthians. Now, I will say that Imperium Romanum is a very bookkeepy game. It is a very fiddly game, and the rule book, whatever edition you have, the rule book is not the clearest rule book ever, okay? So it is a challenge. It is kind of a project to play this, but it is also a singular game. It's almost like Al Nafi's master's or dissertation or PhD dissertation on the subject of Roman history. There is no campaign game. It is all scenarios. There have been attempts by third-party fans and stuff to do a campaign game, but the very idea of doing the entire all of Roman history in a campaign game that with monthly turns sounds kind of bizarre, right? So Roma Victrix looks very interesting. I don't think it covers this period. I don't think it covers Byzantine history. Let me put it that way. I might be wrong about that because I have already dismissed unjustly Roma Victrix, and it looks, having glanced at it now, it looks like it's got a lot of promise. Oh. Danny Seckery doesn't know much about this time, but what is the name of the dude with the silver mask? You're asking about the actor. The actor is Edward Norton. The character is Baldwin the second or third. I forget which numbered Baldwin it was. But if you Google the Leper King, that's the guy. And that is an actual historical dude. And he historically had friggin' leprosy, too. Is there a decent game on the Fourth Crusade? Not to my knowledge. Is it Baldwin the Fourth? There we go. I am unaware of a decent game on the Fourth Crusade. I'm also, it's been a while and I may be mixing the Crusades up. Was the fourth one the one that had the misadventure in Constantinople? Because that would be relevant to Byzantine history. So, okay, Marty says that Roma Victrix covers 200 BC to 580. That's a lot of history, man. And Rome is a very different place in 500 AD, even 200 AD. Versus 200 BC. So how does one reflect that? That's a good question. Is there a decent game on the Children's Crusade? No, you just dump them all. You just put them on the boat, and then once you leave port, you just throw them all overboard. Is I believe historically how that may have gone down. All right, so moving on from Imperium Romanum, I was very pleased to see, before we move on, I guess. I was very pleased to see this come back. I think it is a worthwhile game. It is not going to be for, like Pacific War, it's not going to be for everybody. It is for aficionados of this particular topic, dealing with this particular scope, and the military aspect of it actually it is kind of operational, which I dig. So, all right, Sword of Orthodoxy from White Dog Games and Ben Madison. The Rise and Fall of Byzantium, 420 to 1453. So this is a, from White Dog Games, if I didn't say that, this is a States of Siege-esque game, as you can see. And this is the kind of thing that I think Ben Madison is actually quite good at. And I personally would like to see this game, but I do find this map to be really, really busy and hard to deal with. I gotta tell you, I would have greatly preferred available Roman outposts. There's some serious graphic design issues on this thing. Available Roman outposts. Would it have been possible to find a font that was more difficult to read? I wonder. They should have talked to Non-Breaking Space to find a more difficult to read font. Because boy, they went out of their way on that. And I don't know why, because, it's not like Greek-ish looking fonts are hard to find. I've got several myself. The Piri Rice map. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's super brown. There's not a lot of contrast. I understand that it's a print-on-demand type of affair, but there we go. There we have got Dave Perrier has gotten to the bottom of this mystery. Him and the Scooby Gang have figured it out, and it would have worked. Picture non-breaking space. It would have worked too if it hadn't been for you meddling kids. So, I've got a number of things from Ben Madison in this general vicinity, including Jihad, and the mission is really kind of a reversal of the standard, or maybe expansion, if you will, of the standard States of Siege methodology. I really gotta friggin' get a video done on that, to be honest. Mahaffey has tended to have contrast issues, I have observed many times in the past. In any case, topically, this game is interesting, and I think Ben Madison is a good designer that this might work for. I have not liked every Ben Madison game. I think there's a couple specific ones that I had a pretty bad negative reaction to, but this I'd be interested in looking at, because there's not a lot of games on this, right? I found 10 games that weren't completely obscure on Byzantine history, and I even had to include Imperium Romanum, which is only like a quarter about Byzantine history. So, Recall from Paris. Thanks so much. I think we're just starting stupid rumors here. All right. Anyway, moving on from sort of orthodoxy, we have this guy, Byzantium, by Joe Miranda, and according to BGG, William Sarajevo. This is the high point of the Byzantine Empire from the 8th century defeat of the Arabs. That's a little more complicated than that, to the fall of Constantinople in 1204. So not the very end. Up to 4 players, and we can see that this is an area movement game. When did this come out? Because this screams 90s to me. 1996. I don't hate the cover, but the cover is just something from a museum. I need to get this, actually. So, as I have mentioned, Professor Kalidelis was my Byzantine history professor. So, and he was really good too, actually. So, you can chalk up everything I know about the late Eastern Roman Empire to him, quite literally. Vincenzo Beretta, very good. Very good. All right, so this goes for 30 to 45 bucks, which is a little bit high for this, if you ask me, but it does accommodate up to 4 players. You can see that the counters look pretty much like 90s counters. Might well be interesting game. I'm probably not going to run this down, barring further information. So the reason, of course, for those who don't know, Marco Arnaudo, formerly Marco Wargamer, now Marco Omnigamer, has been using for many years. He has been using a fresco or mosaic or something picture of Justinian as his personal icon logo thing. So that is exactly why. And this is not that picture, but it is a similar style. All right, next up is Belisarius, The Empire Strikes Back. This one I have investigated a little bit, and I would actually like to have this. This is a war game. This is simulating the Justinian's reconquest of the West, as we said before. Now, if we look at it, we once again see it very similar to the other map. It's a hex map, which, I like hex maps. I like hexagons the best. The counters are... Do we have any images of the counters here? I think so. The counters are a little weird, but I don't really have a problem with these. They certainly look fine. The numbers look totally readable. This is a very interesting. We'll get to problem. We are missing something, and it is this. We'll talk about that in a second. Justinian's reconquest of the West, in my opinion, is one of the things that made the what that cost in terms of blood and treasure. I think, weakened the Byzantine Empire in the face of Islam, which would then, show up not too much longer after that. So, see, this is a reasonably handsome looking game. I wonder what these are. I those think those just look like pennies or something. I don't know. They could be using those for the coins, which would actually be a good idea. But this is one that I would actually like to run down for myself, and this is in S&T. Doesn't actually say, and I'm not trying to figure it out from the cover. Noble Knight's got this for $12, and that does include, that's just the magazine, never mind. And I don't have that one either. So, yeah, apparently it is. Sometimes you just gotta, purple is the right color of the Byzantines, actually. All right, so let's do Cataphract next. So this is Great Battles of History. It is Byzantine battles, and it's got 6 or 7 or 8 battles in it. Plus, it's got an additional entire game called Justinian. Now, BGG lists this very weirdly because it's listed also as its own thing. It is its own thing in the box. I think you could kind of use it as a scenario generator. But this is Justinian's Reconquest of the West, designed by Richard Berg in an area movement game. And it is included. I don't believe this was ever sold separately, although I guess I could be wrong. This is, and of course, Mark had a hand in this as well. But just in Cataphract, but Justinian, I think, is all Richard Berg. Mark, please correct if that is a misrepresentation. Cataphract itself, once again, we don't have, I guess we'll figure it out from here. So we've got the Catalonian Fields is a big battle. Dara is a big famous battle. Tricameron, the Udus River, Cessalinum, Tagenet, Sina Gallica are, I think, a little less well known. So Mark did the battles, Berg did Justinian. I haven't actually played Justinian. It actually looks pretty neat. And you will observe that there is some naval stuff in here as well. So I was very pleased. I think my copy of Cataphract is the reprint. Which means it's got the thicker counters and stuff. I don't really care other than that, to be honest. I wouldn't buy a new copy just for the sake of getting thicker counters. Except when I did, which is a GBOH thing, actually. I had Tyrant as its own expansion, and I ended up buying the reprint just of Tyrant from the new printing of Great Battles of Alexander, just so I would have the thicker counters that would match the rest of the counters in Great Battles of Alexander. If you're interested in tactical Byzantine battles at a more detailed scale and with substantially more detailed rules than you are going to find in Commands and Colors Medieval and, more historical fidelity, in my opinion, then Cataphract is the first place to look. I don't know if this is still available, but it was reprinted somewhat recently by GMT. Noble Knight has it for $30 for a first printing. I don't know that it matters much which printing you have of this because they both contain Justinian. $30 seems extremely reasonable to me, unpunched. So use that affiliate link, folks. I'm not actually trying to sell stuff on here. I am not. Are we talking about this? Because I don't think so. I don't think that's supposed to be Richard Berg. I imagine this is supposed to be Belisarius. I don't know if there's any historical images of Belisarius around. There certainly are of Justinian. So one of the things that I did enjoy about season 2 of Foundation was Ben Daniels as General Belriose. I liked his portrayal and I liked the actor. Good point. Maynard Mike says there are some Byzantine scenarios in Vikings from the Prestog set. I imagine that's true. Balt of Cockatiel says that's Burt Reynolds. Mark says it's not Richard Bergen. I would assume that it wasn't. Yeah, I don't think there's any huge differences between the two printings of that particular one. War Galley, there's at least one. The second Battle of Salabas is in one of the printings and not in the other one, so there's that. Okay, next up is Seljuk, Byzantium Besieged. This is Levian campaign, and it is about the campaign that culminates in the big battle of Manzikert, which is the sort of the doom bell of the Byzantine Empire, if you will. Things are steadily downhill from here. And of course, we've done some video with Justin on this, and this looks really neat. In fact, here's the video. I didn't even know that was there. But this is a really neat looking game. Levian campaign itself is also really neat. I think this is true, but that is such a deep cut. Arnor versus Gondor is such a deep cut of Middle-earth Legendarium lore that I'm not sure it makes much difference. In any case, this looks great. The cover is great, too, by the way. I don't know if this is a... I'd love to know, Justin, if you're here, who did the cover here? Because it's fabulous. Just fabulous. There's some new innovations to Levian campaign in this game. It looks really good. So, it's 8.9, but bear in mind there's not a lot of ratings because nobody owns it yet. Who owns it? Let's see who owns it. Yeah, none of these people is Justin, so I think none of them actually own it. So they're just rating it to rate it, I guess. Can any rando rate this? Apparently, so we won't do that. I don't want to play that stupid game. So this, I have never had nor particularly closely looked at the original Europa Universalis. I can tell you that Europa Universalis, the price of power, absolutely has Constantinople. And the original probably did too, just based on knowing something about how it was set up from playing the video games. But I don't know. But I can tell you it's in price of power. And it does feel like this has been cooking for a long time. And I know Justin hasn't been cooking it for a long time. This is one of those that probably has slid a few times in the GMT production queue. At least that's what it feels like to me. I don't know if anybody would like to comment on that. So the computer game, at least EU3 began in 1492. EU4 might too. I think it does. But the original board game I've never had, never played. So I thought about doing a campaign for it, but then I'm like, it would be a curiosity piece. So Varangian Guards are in fact Vikings. So there's that. All right. So we've got this, and we've got one more game that I think is out now. It is Rome 2 Inc. by designer Philip Gellet, and it's Jelly as far as I know. He's actually British. You look at his name and you think, oh, he's probably French, right? No, he's British as far as I know. This is a follow-up to Rome Inc. Don't take the Inc. thing particularly seriously. That was just kind of the marketing gimmick, but this is a really interesting period of Roman history that touches both the East and the West. So the first one is... trying to remember when the first one starts, but this is Imperial Rome, right? Diocletian is a fascinating emperor, and I would really, really, really like to get this. Now, this is a solitaire game, and I haven't played the original. We pretty much have the entire map here, don't we? It doesn't seem to me to play particularly like States of Siege. Augustus to Diocletian, yeah, is the first one. And this is second in the series. There will, however, be a third one too, Rome LLC, which is the Roman Republic. And I'm on board for that too. And that should get published before Against the Odds wraps up. So So this looks really cool. I need this. Although I should be disciplined about it and play the first one before I push the button on this. But it's not like $41 from Noble Knight for a new copy. I'll take that. That sounds good to me. Yeah, I mean, unless you just like glance at the map and think, even just glancing at the map, it doesn't look like a States of Siege game. It's not similar to States of Siege at all, as far as I can tell, other than just their solitaire games. So just to get that out of the way. ATO is they're retiring against the Odds magazine. It's a couple years away yet. They've still got several issues that they're going to do, but yeah, they're going to pretty much going to retire against the Odds magazine. I believe, Mike, at this point they're at about 4 years, but maybe it's 5. I'm not sure. They could stay around. Against the Odds has some. Generally, I think Against the Odds has done some really interesting things. Not everything is hit batted 1,000, but I think they've done some really cool things, and I would like to see them stay around forever, but not everything stays around forever. All right, so I really wanted to get... Mark says that it's hard to keep track of the board status, but it's a good solo game. I got 5 unboxing videos filmed. Army Group North, Barbaros Army Group North, all Space Empires, All Good Things, Rock of Chickamauga, and 1985 Under an Iron Sky, 4th Echelon, and there might have been something else there too. And I have gotten nothing edited so far, so we will be proceeding with the editing process, and hopefully I'll be bringing you at least one new video at least this week. The new Labatt, I am waiting for this. This was the one that they crowdfunded. I got in on this. Oh, that's actually interesting. Good point. Let me pull this down. And then I'm going to depart for a moment here, and I'll be right back. Because there is at least one Byzantine game that I would it's not a war game, but I would 100% consider it a game about the Byzantine Empire that it didn't even occur to me to add to the list, but I have it. It's Nicaea from M. Bell Holland. It's the Council of Nicaea, which is a council called by the Emperor Constantine. And unlike Joe, you're killing me here, Joe, with this tomfoolery. I didn't mention Empires of the Middle Ages. This is about the Council of Nicaea. Now, contrary to popular urban legend, in this case, I mean urban bullshit, the Council of Nicaea did not, in fact, decide which books were going to be in the Bible and which weren't. That was all settled by then. The Council of Nicaea, Constantine got all these bishops together, and we have meticulous records. We have everything that was said at the Council of Nicaea. So there's a lot of misinformation about what happened there. A bunch of nonsense conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I didn't mention Empires of the Middle Ages. That's fair. Credo. The ATO game in this case is Rome 2 Inc. This thing. Let me pull it back up. This guy. Rome 2 Inc. from Diocletian to Heraclius. This is the new one. Just Rome Inc. is the first one. So I have not played this, and this is a super interesting topic. I mean, the Council of Nicaea is super fascinating. And it is a, not perhaps 100% reverent take on it, but it nevertheless, as, somebody to whom that, of this ecclesiastical tradition, and I don't know if Amabel was raised Catholic or not, but I was. So this was, kind of a big deal. It definitely was an important meeting. And I should have thought of it, because it was called by Constantine. It was, It was there were a whole bunch of ecumenical councils called in the the plus or minus 100 years from Nicaea. So I think I remember Credo, but it's really drawing a blank. The game of dueling dogmas. Huh. I guess I vaguely remember this, but let me pull this up again. So Chaosium did it in 1993 as a bagged game. I think that's the one I remember. And then Multisim did a fancy version of it with no date, which means it might not be out. Who knows? If we look at the pictures, we'll probably be able to tell. But yeah, also Council of Nicaea, so why not? No, there's definitely multi-sim components in here. So yeah, it's the Council of Nicaea is a fascinating topic. But like I said, a lot of the things, the big concern at the Council of Nicaea was not what books are going to be canonical and what isn't. The big concern was the nature of Christ and his relationship to the divinity, whether he is a subordinate being to the Father or co-equal with the Father or coexistent with, or exactly how that worked out. The Christians had been killing each other about these exact quibbles for like 200 years by this point, or 300 years perhaps. So it was important to Constantine that says, hey, we're going to be a Christian empire now, so we really got to straighten this out. And the Council of Nicaea was his attempt to do that. You may be familiar with the Nicene Creed that that came out of the Council of Nicaea and is a statement of the things that were established to be central to their version of Christianity at the time. And they had bishops there from East, West, Africa, all over the place at the Council of Nicaea. So, hey, you know what, Mark? I agree with you. Sometimes the old ones are just fine. Is this the dude that wrote Sapiens? I think so. Creed was a solid. Or which Creed are we talking about? Are we talking about the one with Michael B. Jordan? Because I actually watched that, or did I watch Creed 2? I think I've seen them both. I didn't really like Creed. I liked Creed 2 a little better because they brought back Ivan Drago. I thought that was cool. So, anyway. All right. I am not a fan of that book in particular. So, I will leave it at that for now. We are, however, going to call the show a bit early tonight because I have, like I said, had an extraordinarily long and trying day. And if I sit here anymore, I'm going to drink another 2 fingers of scotch, and I really don't want to do that. So, yes, and for anybody interested in the history of early Christianity, I really do recommend The Mission. I think it's a really solid game. I took a whole class on history of early Christianity as well. So, I'm reading a lot of stuff. So, Mark, thanks for stopping by. So I do recommend The Mission if you'd like a game to explore the history of early Christianity. It's kind of a reverse States of Siege, where you kind of expand out from the center, which is Jerusalem, and then at some point there will be threats from the outside that you have to defend against. So it's kind of like the pre-States of Siege, and that followed by a States of Siege type of situation. It's a pretty cool game. Anyway, we are going to wrap this up tonight, folks, just a little bit early, so I would appreciate it if everybody would like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. If you'd like to help support the channel, there's a bunch of ways to do that in the video description, and that would be greatly appreciated. It would really help me out and the channel and everything that's going on around here. So I will see everybody again soon. We'll be back next Sunday. We are working on a guest for next Sunday's Chit Show, so stay tuned on that. We will be back with Dan on Sunday and back here Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Everybody have a great rest of the night. We'll see you all again soon.